Now, my presentation is titled The Thought on the Language in Early Ismaili Shiism, a preliminary study of intellectual history of language with special reference to Abū Ḥātim Rāzī's Kitāb al-Zīna. And now I'd like to talk about the background of this research. And actually, I started this research at on my sabbatical year from Keio University in 2005 to 6 at the University of Oxford, and but mainly working at IIS and the Institute of Ismaili Studies, and which generously allowed me to use its rich library resource. And the result is a partial translation of Kitāb al-Zīna, and the treatise titled Fadl Rugat al-Arab, the superiority of a language of the Arabs from the Kitāb al-Zīna, and which is translated into Japanese partially with annotation and introduction. Now, and I'd like to talk about this particular text, and also the text by Ibn Babawayh of 10th century Iran, also from I think near Rai, and which is a birthplace of Abū Ḥātim al-Rāzī. And I'd like to also compare the idea of creation and cosmology and language. And could you please a little scroll down? Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, on this page. And the first, I have two texts at first of all, al-Rāzī's superiority of language of the Arabs from Kitāb al-Zīna. And the second one is Shaykh Saduq ibn Babawayh, and a theologian and a traditionalist of 12 Shiism and contemporaneous age of Abū Ḥātim Rāzī. And I'd like to introduce a particular part of the text, which is titled Bab Zikr Majlis al-Rida, which is a memoir which can be translated to a memoir of the discourse of Rida, and eighth Imam of Isna Ashari Shiism, and who died in Khurāsān, I think. And his the place of his death is now enshrined as a Mashhad, and the present day in Mashhad, and the mausoleum in the Mashhad. And the background of this text, I would like to talk about the kind of session, which is Ari al-Rida, Imam Ari al-Rida talked about the unity of God, Tawheed, and in response of the question from one of each representative of the non-Islamic religious communities. And could you, yes, the second page. And I'd like to also introduce Abū Ḥātim Rāzī. And his career is marked by two debates. One of the debates with Muhammad al-Nasafi, his co-religionist, on the how to introduce Neoplatonist cosmological ideas, and also on prophetic idea, and also on original Ismaili prophetic ideas. And also another one with Abū Bakr Muhammad Zakaria Rāzī, the famous Rāzis in Latin, and the famous physician, and also naturalist philosopher, and which is recorded in Alam Nubuwa. And the Kitāb al-Zīna is different from the records of those two debates, one with his co-religionist, and one from the attack, one with attack from outside. And also this Zīna is a kind of a lexicon of a religious terminology, and which is recently, not recently, maybe some 10 years ago, introduced by Professor Jamal Ali in his fine, in his excellent monograph. And so also, I'd like to keep in mind, and also I'd like you to keep in mind, and cosmology relationship of cosmology with the language, sort of language in early Ismailism, represented in their ideas of the word of creation, kalima, and also a word of a command of creation. And also two principles representing female principle and male principle, and in cosmology, kuni and kadar. And this, in my presentation, and these two ideas are not, do not appear there, but somehow I'd like to keep in mind the possible relation of those ideas with the ideas I'm going to represent. And also now, also I'd like to remind ourselves of a contribution of Jewish Ismaili scholarship, and I mean the scholarship by Jewish scholars on Ismailism, and also their contribution to the study of Kitāb al-Zīna, and particularly George Vida on treatise on the superiority of Arabic language from Zīna. And I have just a moment, some reference there. The article on Zīna by George Vida is titled Les lettres et les sons de la langue arabe, d'après Abū Ḥātim al-Rāzī. And he also here introduced us some ideas of cosmology and its relation to letters and in the Kabbalistic ideas, which he tried to compare with Abū Ḥātim Rāzī's ideas in the Zīna. And I like to, which I'm going to represent here. Now, and let's see the text in the text. And now in Zīna, we see the text. Sorry, and can you please scroll down? Yes, here. Thank you very much. Now, we reported from Jafar ibn Muhammad, and which is from Abū Ḥātim Rāzī, and he quoted hadith attributed to Imam Jafar Sadiq. And according to this, and the first things which got thought tawahum was a being thought mutawahum, and he wished a volition and willed a will, and thus his thought. Can you scroll down, please? And will refer to the letters which he made into the base for every being, a sign for every object of a perception. Sorry, and divider for every equivocal being. Thus, from those letters, even being comes to be known. Every being, such as a real noun, false noun, act, effect, affected, meaning, or meaningless. Upon those letters, all the matters are gathered, composed. For the letters, no meaning which has end, limit, and no existence beyond it, except themselves, was made into a being at the time of his thought of them, because they were thought by a thought. And that is as an act of God. And his first act of God, his first act. The thought in this passage is the first act of God. He be mighty and glorious. That is the light of heaven and earth. Now, here Abū Ḥātim Rāzī, quoting the hadith attributed to Imam Jafar Sadiq. And according to this hadith, the process of creation is like this. His thought as God's first act, his volition and will follow it. His thought, volition, and will form the letters. God made the letters into a base for every being, a sign for every recognized being, every object of perception, and the divider for every ambiguous being. All the matters are composed upon those letters. The letters are the first being created by his first act of thought. Now, and I have a passage from Majlis al-Rida, which is, I think this is a kind of strikingly, it shows a striking similarity of Abū Ḥātim Rāzī's quotation from Imam Jafar Sadiq. Know that with regard to origination, the volition and the will, irada, they have one meaning, and yet their names are three. And the first effect of the origination, will and volition, is the letters, and which got made into a base for everything, the sign for object of perception, mudrak, and the same word, mudrak, used in quotation by Abū Ḥātim Rāzī. And the divider for the equivocal being. These letters function as a differentiator of everything, such as the name of any being, real and or unreal, act, effected, meaning, or meaningless. Upon them all the matters are gathered, composed, and yet for the letters, no meaning except themselves was brought about in his act of origination of them. It is because the letters are originated by the origination, and the light in this place is the first effect of the act of God. That is the light of the heavens and earth. The letters are the effect caused by that act of God. They are the letters on which the speech, kalam, and all the outlooks are based thanks to God. Now, In this Majlis al-Rida, the process of creation is described in that order. God's origination, Ibda, the volition and the will are his one and the same first act. The first effect of the above act, that is origination, is the letters. God made those letters into a base for everything, a sign for object of the perception, and a divider for the equivocal thing. All matters are composed upon these letters. And could you scroll down? Thank you very much. And the letters are the first being created by his first and originations. And now we have some similarities between and those two texts and the same, almost the same terminology, except some important omission from Abū Ḥātim al-Rāzī, such as origination and in the Majlis al-Rida. But if we compare those two texts, some parts almost look like verbatim. Now, and also Abū Ḥātim al-Rāzī's text and also Majlis and al-Rida have the formation languages upon the letters. And al-Zīna, the letters are the effect of act of God. They are the letters on which the whole of speech is based. The outlooks and words are all thanks to God, are formed all thanks to God. And his act of creation, they are 33 letters, indicate the Syriac and Hebrew languages, which are arranged in abjad. Out of them, 5 letters are modified in other languages of non-Arabs, al-Ajam, which belong to the climate of the earth. They are 5 letters, which are modified from 28 letters in those languages. In this way, all the letters became 33 letters because of the difference of the languages. As for the 5 modified letters, every language is recognized with them. In Majlis al-Rida, they are the letters on which the speech and all the outlooks are based thanks to God. He be mighty and glorious. He taught those letters to his creation. There are 33 letters. Out of them appear 28 letters, which indicate the Arabic language. Out of those letters appear 22 letters, which indicate the Syriac and the Hebrew languages. Out of those letters, 5 letters were modified in other languages of non-Arabs, al-Ajam, which belong to all the linguistic fields. They are modified letters from the 28 letters of the language. Thus the letters became 33 letters. As for the 5 various letters, it is not conceivable with the argumentations that the memory of them is more than our memory. Now, all right, and now we have this kind of some similarities between two texts on the cosmogony based on the formation of letters and also formation of languages from those letters. And now we have a common, this kind of similarities, I think a suggestion for the common early Imamishi ground between Imamis and also the Ismailis. And now I have to conclude, but this also we have quite a suggestive characteristics we can find similar to those two texts, such as ideas of origin of language. Actually, in this text, God created language. He taught it to among humankind. And this is a, now you have some famous debate between Basran schools and Kufic schools, and in early phase of Arab linguistics. And one is a nominalist theory. All the language is based on norms of humankind. The another one is some naturalist theory, and this is all the language represents some natural aspects and of the kind of a correspondence between nature and language. And there is another theory, which is a revelationist theory, that is all the language are taught by God to humankind, which is introduced by Bernard Weiss and Professor Bernard Weiss. And this two texts seem to represent the revelationist theory, and there are quite a few many some aspects similar between those two texts, and also this is a kind of a material for the common ground between Ismailis and Imamis in the early phase of development doctrine. Thank you very much.